The Federal High Court in Abuja has once again barred human rights activist and former presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore from attending the ongoing trial of Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, citing limited courtroom space. The trial, scheduled for today, Friday, July 18th, has drawn significant public interest. On Wednesday, a list of 20 individuals was submitted to the court, including Sowore, for clearance to attend the proceedings. However, the judge's chambers later informed that only 10 persons will be granted access due to space constraints. As a result, several names were removed from the list, including Sowore and several defense lawyers. Only senior advocates of Nigeria, SAN, and a few others were approved to be present at the hearing. Meanwhile, on June 19th, the Nigerian government officially closed its case against Kanu. The prosecution, led by Adeboyega Womolo, SAN, concluded its prosecution or its presentation after its fifth witness finished testifying. In response, the defense counsel Kanu Agabi, SAN, informed the court of plans to file a no-case submission, arguing that the prosecution had failed to establish a prima facie case against his client. Justice James Omotosho, the trial judge, granted the defense 14 days to file its written address on the no-case submissions, with the prosecution giving an additional 14 days to respond. The matter was then adjourned to July 18th for further hearings. Kanu, who has been in detention since 2021, is facing charges of treasonable felony and other offenses linked to his agitation for the secession of the eastern region of Nigeria. The Nigerian government accused him of making statements and taking actions that incited violence and threatens national unity. His continued detention has sparked national and international debate, with rights groups and supporters accusing the government of stifling dissent and violating Kanu human rights. Now let's talk about the pattern of Sowore's exclusion from attending Kanu's trial. Meanwhile, there have been several instances where Sowore has been barred from attending Kanu's trial. For instance, on December 15, 2023, Sowore lamented that operatives of the Department of State Services, DSS, blocked him from entering the Supreme Court's premises to witness a ruling related to Kanu's case. He added that the officers shouted no access for Sowore upon seeing his vehicle. He later posted about the incident on social media, accusing the government of persecuting Kanu. Earlier on October 21, 2021, Sowore was denied access to the courtroom by DSS operatives and the Nigerian police force. He had arrived to witness the trial of Kaduna and also to check on his own pending treason case. He criticized the move, stating that the courtroom is a public space and should be accessible to all citizens. Only on July 26, 2021, Sowore was arrested at the Federal High Court in Abuja during Kanu's trial. Security agents picked him up on the court's premises amidst tight security. Journalists and other observers were also restricted from entering the courtroom. The Federal High Court in Abuja has once again barred human rights activist and former presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore from attending the ongoing trial of Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, citing limited courtroom space. The trial, scheduled for today, Friday, July 18th, has drawn significant public interest. On Wednesday, a list of 20 individuals was submitted to the court, including Sowore, for clearance to attend the proceedings. However, the judge's chambers later informed that only 10 persons will be granted access due to space constraints. As a result, several names were removed from the list, including Sowore and several defense lawyers. Only senior advocates of Nigeria, SAN, and a few others were approved to be present at the hearing. Meanwhile, on June 19th, the Nigerian government officially closed its case against Kanu. The prosecution, led by Adeboyega Womolo, SAN, concluded its prosecution or its presentation after its fifth witness finished testifying. In response, the defense counsel Kanu Agabi, SAN, informed the court of plans to file a no-case submission, arguing that the prosecution had failed to establish a prima facie case against his client. Justice James Omotosho, the trial judge, granted the defense 14 days to file its written address on the no-case submissions, with the prosecution giving an additional 14 days to respond. The matter was then adjourned to July 18th for further hearings. Kanu, who has been in detention since 2021, is facing charges of treasonable felony and other offenses linked to his agitation for the secession of the eastern region of Nigeria. The Nigerian government accused him of making statements and taking actions that incited violence and threatens national unity. His continued detention has sparked national and international debate, with rights groups and supporters accusing the government of stifling dissent and violating Kanu human rights. Now let's talk about the pattern of Sowore's exclusion from attending Kanu's trial. Meanwhile, there have been several instances where Sowore has been barred from attending Kanu's trial. For instance, on December 15, 2023, Sowore lamented that operatives of the Department of State Services (DSS) blocked him from entering the Supreme Court's premises to witness a ruling related to Kanu's case. He added that the officers shouted no access for Sowore upon seeing his vehicle. He later posted about the incident on social media, accusing the government of persecuting Kanu. Earlier on October 21, 2021, Sowore was denied access to the courtroom by DSS operatives and the Nigerian police force. He had arrived to witness the trial of Kaduna and also to check on his own pending treason case. He criticized the move, stating that the courtroom is a public space and should be accessible to all citizens. Only on July 26, 2021, Sowore was arrested at the Federal High Court in Abuja during Kanu's trial. Security agents picked him up on the court's premises amidst tight security. Journalists and other observers were also restricted from entering the courtroom. Lawyers representing Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, have announced their intention to file a no-case submission in response to the terrorism charges brought against their clients by the federal government of Nigeria. Kanu Agabi, the lead counsel to Nnamdi Kanu, made this known in a court on Thursday, shortly after the federal government's counsel at the Womolo informed the court that the prosecution had concluded its case. During Thursday's proceedings, the prosecution presented its fifth and final witness, referred to as Mr. EEE for security reasons. An officer of the Department of State Services (DSS), Mr. EEE, told the court that he led investigations into the impact of the NSARS protests that took place across the country in October 2020. He also served as the secretary of the Presidential Ad Hoc Committee tasked with assessing the damage from the protests. He testified that his team traveled across the states in southern Nigeria where the NSARS protests occurred, documenting destroyed public property and the number of security personnel killed during the unrest. A copy of the committee's report was submitted to the court, although the defense raised an objection. They indicated that they would address it in the final written address. The presiding judge, Justice James Omotosho, admitted the report as evidence. According to the report, 128 policemen, 37 military personnel, and 10 DSS operatives were killed during the protest. Protesters who destroyed 164 police stations and 19 INEC facilities nationwide. The witness alleged that Nnamdi Kanu's broadcasts over the years were an underlying cause of the insurrection. He stated, and quote, "As trained security personnel, we understand that every insurrection has two causes, the visible triggers and the deeper underlying ones. Kanu's broadcasts fall into the latter category." During cross-examination, defense counsel Onyechi Ibazu asked the witness, "Are you saying the entire NSAS protest happened because the defendant incited people?" Mr. EE responded that he was unaware of that, but noted that the defendant had made several calls for attacks on security personnel and destruction of public property. Ibazu pressed further, "So you are telling this court that when property was destroyed in Lagos or Osun State, it was caused of the defendant's instructions? Are you equating the NSAS protest to the Biafran cause?" The witness responded that his assignment was not to investigate Biafra, but to assess the impact of the NSAS protest, to which he believes the defendant contributed through incitement. He argued that while police brutality may have been the surface-level cause of the protests, the deeper reason involved actions by subversive elements, including broadcasts made by Nnamdi Kanu. Defense counsel then referred to the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry on the NSAS protest, already tendered as Exhibit PWO. He told the witness, "I put it to you at this point that this report makes no mention of the defendants or IPOB, nor does it indict them in relation to the damages caused during the NSAS protests. Mr. EEE admitted he had not read that particular report. Ibazu also highlighted several inconsistencies in the prosecution's evidence, including the absence of details about the security personnel allegedly killed by IPOB ESN members. He noted that neither the secretary, the witness, nor the committee chairman signed the submitted report. He further pointed out a discrepancy in the document structure. While the main report was titled Assessment of Damage from the NSAS Protest, pages 669 onward bore the titled Report of the Presidential Ad Hoc Committee investigating the activities of the leader of IPOB and ESN. Ibazu challenged the authenticity of those pages, alleging they were manufactured and inserted into the NSAS report for the purpose of this trial. The witness denied the claim. At the close of cross-examination, Federal Government Counsel Awomolo announced that the prosecution had concluded its case, having presented 5 witnesses and several documents. Lead Defense Counsel Kanu Agabi informed the courts that the defense would be filing a no-case submission, a legal motion on arguing that the prosecution failed to establish a case against the defendant and requesting the court to dismiss the charges outright. Justice James Omotosho granted both parties 14 days each to file their final written addresses and adjourned the matter to Friday, July 18, 2025 for the adoption of the written addresses regarding the no-case submission.
This is the most ridiculous of them all. The most ridiculous of them all, frankly speaking. What? Excuse me? What did you just say? Is this ridiculous? Like linking Nnamdi Kanu to NSAS. How? NSAS? Something that just sprang up from nowhere? Something that just happened at the spur of the moment? You are attributing it to Nnamdi Kanu. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. What? What are you guys doing? Wow.
The trial of the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, resumed before the Federal High Court in Abuja on Wednesday with the Department of State Services DSS alleging that he was responsible for widespread violence in the southeast region of the country. The security agency, through one of its operatives who testified as the fourth prosecution witness PW4 in the 7-count terrorism and treasonable felony charge the federal government preferred against Kanu, insisted that the defendants incited violence through various broadcasts he made on Radio Biafra. The witness, whose real name was shielded as he was only identified as PWDDD, testified behind a protective shield. He told the court that Kanu had in his illegal radio broadcast directed his followers to deal decisively with some targeted persons that included security agents. He alleged that in furtherance of the directive, between 170 and 200 security operatives were killed in the southeast. Led in evidence by federal government's lawyer, Chief Adeboyega Awomolo, SAN, the witness added that the defendant was responsible for the murder of a former presidential aide, Ahmad Gulak, by the IPOB, which he said heeded to his order, giving an account of what transpired on the day Gulak, who was a former aide to ex-President Goodluck Jonathan, was killed on May 30, 2021 in Owerri, Imo State. The witness said he was among the first set of security agents that arrived at the scene of the incident. He told the court that he served in Imo State between 2019 and 2023, adding that it was his car that was used to evacuate Gulak's corpse. According to him, on the fateful day, there was a total breakdown of law and order as a result of a stay-at-home the defendants declared in one of his broadcasts. He told the court that later that day, his colleagues informed him that a prominent politician was killed around Obiagu, an information that led his team to rush to the spot. The witness said the divisional police officer, DPO, in the area told him that Gulak was in a hired cab when he was killed by some IPOB members. He said that the driver of the cab told him that they were heading to the airport from Owerri town when they saw a checkpoint mounted by men of the Nigerian Air Force who were preventing people from accessing the airport. He said the developments forced the driver to take an alternative route that took them into another checkpoint that was mounted by IPOB members. The witness said the driver revealed that the IPOB members ordered the three of them in the car to disembark and demanded to know their tribes. He said both of the driver and the Gulag introduced themselves as Igbo men. However, upon a command by the IPOB members, while the driver spoke the Igbo language, Gulag was not able to speak. He said it was at that point that the assailant asked Gulag to remove his cap, following which they saw a Muslim prayer mark on his forehead. He said immediately the IPOB members saw the prayer mark. One of them shouted, "He is one of them," and shot him dead. The witness further told the court that Kanu illegally smuggled radio transmitter into the country and hid it at Obolos Uzo, Anambra State, in the premises of one Benjamin Madubugu. He said a team of engineers from the NBC were on November 9, 2015 sent to inspect the transmitter and wrote a report, after which it was moved to Abuja. A certified true copy of the provisional assessment of the radio transmitter report submitted by the NBC was tendered in evidence before the court. Meanwhile, the witness read from some publications of the Vanguard newspaper where it was reported that an arrested commander of the Eastern Security Network, ESN, the alleged armed wing of the IPOB, confessed to the activities of his group. He said the ESN member, identified as Uzoma Benjamin, aka Onyami, disclosed that Kanu have a directive that a deceased member of the group, Ikonso, should be buried with 2,000 human heads. The witness also read where they said Onyami claimed that his group used heads of 10 girls to prepare charms for their protection. He said the investigation revealed that the invasion of Owerri prison by IPOB members was directed by Kanu in one of his broadcasts for his followers to attack and kill security operatives of the federal government of Nigeria. He said police later told the DSS that Onyami escaped from its custody. Continuing, the witness told the court that when the DSS raided ESN hideout, we saw some ESN members, about 7, with human heads and some eating human flesh, which they said was for spiritual fortification. On how the ESN members operate, the witness described them as a combatant who carry arms and attacked homes of prominent individuals and traditional rulers in the region. He said because they lacked sufficient operational tools, they sometimes set up roadblocks during which they hijack vehicles for their operation. The witness identified some public property which he said IPOB and ESN members attacked and destroyed in the southeast, including police stations. Under cross-examination, the witness said he was not aware that the radio transmitter was legitimately brought into the country through a clearing agency. He insisted that there was no evidence that the embattled IPOB secured license to operate a radio station in the country. Justice Omotosho adjourned the further hearing in the matter till Thursday, that is 19th of June 2025. Summing up the court events that happened on the 18th of June 2025, IPOB has released a statement, and he says, quote, "Today's proceedings laid bare the comedy of errors that has become the federal government's case against Nnamdi Kanu." IPOB concluded the statements by renewing its call for the immediate and unconditional release of Nnamdi Kanu, insisting that this entire process is a political persecution anchored in illegality, impunity, and vengeance, not law. Meanwhile, a traditional ruler of Opi Ancient Kingdom in Nsukka local government area, Enugu State, Eze Igwe Williams Ezugu, had declared that President Bola Tinubu missed a historic opportunity to begin national healing by failing to release Nnamdi Kanu on Democracy Day, June 12, 2025. The monarch, who is also the Secretary General of the Conference of Nigerian Political Parties, CNPP, said Tinubu's failure to act was a missed opportunity to demonstrate statesmanship and empathy. The statement by IPOB continued by saying that the government's witness, described as a self-identified law enforcement operatives, gave testimony that rested heavily on hearsay, uncorroborated newspaper clippings, and allegations lacking any investigative or evidentiary backbone. The group noted that the PWDDD relied on July 3, 2021 Vanguard newspaper article to claim that Kanu had ordered someone to kill 2,000 people. He reportedly also alleged Kanu authorized the attack on Owerri Correctional Facility, but admitted under cross-examination that he was neither present at the incident nor involved in any of the formal investigation of it. The presiding judge reportedly rejected the documents the prosecution attempted to attend the ruling that they were obtained without legal counsel being present with the defendant in violation of fair trial standards, IPOB said. Among the exhibits submitted by the prosecution was a report from the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, which IPOB noted simply stated that broadcasting transmitters require regulatory approval and that the equipment was intended for broadcasting. IPOB argued that such a statement is neither novel nor incriminating in any serious legal sense. Highlighting the defense's effort, IPOB said its lead counsel, Dr. Onyechi Ikpeazu, SAN, utterly dismantled the prosecution's case during cross-examination. PWDD allegedly admitted that no official report of this so-called investigation was filed in court and said it was in a drawer in his office instead. He also reportedly confirmed he had no personal knowledge of key individuals or events connected to the case. He never interviewed Uzoma Benjamin, aka Onyami. He never interviewed the Vanguard journalist who allegedly took Onyami's statement. He was not present at the Owerri police station or correctional center during the alleged attacks, the IPOB statement stated. The witness also reportedly admitted to not interviewing anyone linked to the killing of a former presidential aide, Ahmed Gulag, and to receiving no witness information related to it. When questioned about his reliance on newspaper reports, IPOB claimed he shockingly affirmed that he believes everything he reads in newspaper, but contradicted himself by dismissing similar allegations involving Sunday Igboho published in the same outlet. Under pressure from the defense, PWDD was allegedly made to read aloud a portion of the Vanguard article, which labeled Onyami's claims as mere allegations without proof. According to IPOB, the witness gave the evasive and incoherent answers throughout the session, prompting both the judge and the prosecution lead counsel, Chief Adeboyega Awomolo SAN, to intervene. The judge reportedly told the witness, answer the question put to you honestly, without needless explanation, and stop wasting my time. The witness replied that he would chastise himself without the need for the court to admonish him. Summon up the court's event, IPOB stated today's proceedings laid bare the comedy of errors that has become the federal government's case against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And those were the updates. We're back for more of these updates for the 19th of June 2025. Thanks for watching.